My name is Evelyn Harper, and I never imagined I would one day recount a story that defies the ordinary. I was a simple woman, devoted to my family and my work, living a quiet life in the small town of Clearview, California. Yet on the morning of November 12, 2025, everything changed in a way I never thought possible. That day began as any other. I awoke just before dawn to the gentle glow of the rising sun seeping through my modest bedroom window. I stretched, feeling the calm assurance that each day is a gift, and prepared for the day ahead. My small kitchen was filled with the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee, a daily ritual that always reminded me to give thanks. Clad in a deep green uniform that had become my second skin, I set off for my job at the Silver Oaks Senior Living Center, where I had spent many years caring for the elderly with tenderness and respect. At Silver Oaks, every resident had a story, a lifetime of memories that I cherished. There was Mrs. Linda Carter, whose soft, lilting voice recounted adventures from a distant past, and Mr. Samuel Reeves, whose quiet hums of old spiritual hymns brought comfort to everyone around him. Their wisdom and resilience had always grounded me, reinforcing my belief that every soul carries a purpose. I never imagined that later that day I would be forced to confront a destiny far beyond the mundane. The afternoon unfolded normally. I assisted residents with their daily routines, listened intently to their recollections, and even shared a few smiles and words of encouragement. As my shift drew to a close, I looked forward to returning home. My son, Caleb, had called earlier, reminding me to pick up a special loaf of cornbread from the bakery, a small treat he adored. The weather was turning cool and overcast, a prelude to rain, yet I drove confidently along the familiar country road, the soft strains of a beloved gospel hymn accompanying my thoughts. Then, in an instant that still haunts me, the routine shattered. As I navigated a quiet stretch of road, an abrupt flash of white light burst into my vision. A large delivery truck, its brakes failing on the slick asphalt, hurtled toward me with a force I could neither anticipate nor escape. In the split second that followed, my hands clenched the steering wheel as panic surged through me. I desperately swerved, but fate had already set its course. The collision struck with a deafening crash. Metal screamed against metal, glass erupted in a spray of fragments, and time itself appeared to slow as the chaos took over. In that bewildering moment, as the world around me disintegrated into shards of sound and color, I felt an overwhelming detachment. It was not the agony of pain that consumed me, but rather an uncanny stillness, a void where familiar sensations dissolved into an ethereal nothingness. When the tumult finally ebbed, I discovered that I was no longer confined to my battered car. Hovering above the wreckage, I became a silent observer. I watched, almost as if through a pane of glass, as paramedics rushed to my side. Their faces, etched with urgency and concern, moved in a frantic dance to extricate me from the twisted metal. Yet, as I gazed down, I saw not the vibrant pulse of life, but my own inert form crumpled within the wreckage. It was in that surreal state, a liminal space between existence and oblivion, that I comprehended the unthinkable. I had crossed over to a realm beyond our physical world. There was no pain, no clamoring for survival. Instead, there was a profound and mysterious calm. I floated, weightless and detached, as every detail below took on an extraordinary clarity. The raindrops glistened like clusters of tiny diamonds, the motion of the wind painted mesmerizing patterns on the earth, and even the distant blare of sirens became a symphony of life's last breaths. Drawn by a force I could neither understand nor resist, I found myself moving toward a radiant, all-encompassing light. It was not harsh or blinding like the headlights of the truck or the emergency beams that punctuated the darkness. It was warm, inviting, and suffused with a presence that felt like a long-lost embrace. As I drifted toward this luminous expanse, a voice, gentle yet commanding, resonated through the silence. "Evelyn, arise." In that moment, I recognized the voice as none other than that of divinity. Emerging from the brilliance was a figure whose presence defied earthly description. A being clothed in a light so pure that no earthly fabric could compare. His eyes, vast and eternal, shimmered with a wisdom that reached beyond the confines of mortal understanding, while his face bore both the serenity of unconditional love and the sorrow of witnessing humanity's plight. There was an indescribable magnetism in his presence, as if I were coming home after an interminable journey. His touch, when he extended his hand toward me, sent a surge of divine energy coursing through every fiber of my being, erasing every lingering fear, regret, and sorrow. "Evelyn," he said softly, his voice imbued with warmth and a quiet urgency, "you have been granted a glimpse of the truth beyond, and now you must return to share this message with the world." As his hand met mine, an overwhelming rush of love and understanding enveloped me. In that transcendent embrace, I sensed not only the beauty of divine grace, but also a heavy burden, a warning of a spiritual deception that was steadily infiltrating our everyday lives. He guided me through a series of visions that unfolded like a celestial tapestry, weaving together the threads of past, present, and future. The first vision transported me back to my own childhood. I saw myself as a timid, overlooked girl sitting alone in the corner of a bustling playground. Yet, even in that moment of isolation, I was not truly abandoned. Ethereal figures, gentle guardians who resembled angels, moved quietly around me, ensuring that I was never entirely alone. Their silent presence was a testament to the enduring love that had always surrounded me, even when I was unaware of it. But then the vision shifted abruptly. I was no longer reliving the memories of my youth. Instead, I found myself standing on a crowded urban street in a future that was both mesmerizing and deeply unsettling. The city was alive with movement, yet the people around me seemed devoid of true life. Their eyes were transfixed not on each other, but on small, implanted devices that glowed softly beneath their skin. These devices, heralded as marvels of modern convenience, were in fact subtle instruments of control. The citizens moved in a trance-like state, their thoughts and actions no longer their own, but dictated by an unseen force that bound them like marionettes. As I absorbed this dystopian scene, I became painfully aware of a broader, more insidious conflict. The spiritual battle was not waged solely between the forces of light and darkness in a realm apart. It was unfolding right here, among us, hidden beneath the surface of technological progress and societal convenience. I witnessed how the enemy, cloaked in the guise of innovation and unity, had sown deep seeds of division among people. The barriers between races, between different communities, were not born of nature, but had been meticulously engineered to distract humanity from its true potential. The bitterness and resentment that festered between groups were not inherent, but were the poison of a devious plan designed to shatter our collective spirit. In one particularly harrowing vision, I observed a future where even the sanctuaries of faith were not immune to deception. I saw congregations gathering in once hallowed churches, their faces lit by the soft glow of digital screens rather than by the warmth of genuine fellowship. The leaders of these communities preached the virtues of new technological marvels, implants and digital identification systems, asserting that these advances were divinely inspired tools for a safer, better world. Yet beneath the veneer of progress lay a silent conspiracy. These devices were spiritual chains, binding hearts and minds to a system that would eventually strip away the very essence of free will. Amidst the turmoil of these revelations, I felt a surge of both despair and hope. As I watched the future unfold in all its stark reality, Jesus' eyes met mine with a blend of sorrow and resolute determination. "Evelyn," he murmured, "you must awaken them. For every soul that accepts the easy path of convenience, a piece of divine freedom is lost. You are to be the bearer of truth, a light in the encroaching darkness." His words resonated deeply within me, planting a seed of resolve that would soon take root in my heart. Then the vision took another dramatic turn. I found myself standing in a vast, echoing hall, not made of stone or wood, but of pure, shimmering light. In this sacred space, I saw innumerable souls, beings of light, unburdened by the trappings of a physical form, each carrying within them a spark of divine purpose. Yet, even here, the shadow of deception loomed. I perceived that as each soul was born into the physical realm, the enemy's influence began its insidious work, molding their destiny with distractions and false promises. Some were nurtured in loving environments, while others were left to struggle against forces that sought to diminish their inner light. The battle for each individual's true identity had already begun, and the stakes were higher than ever. Taking my trembling hands in his, Jesus fixed me with a gaze that was both tender and unyielding. "Your mission," he declared softly, "is not for your own salvation alone, but for the awakening of all who have been lulled into complacency. Return to your world and speak the truth of what you have seen. Some will heed your words, many will dismiss them, yet the truth must be known, for it is the only weapon against the relentless tide of deception." No sooner had these words been spoken than I was cast into another vision, a glimpse of a future metropolis that struck me with an almost unbearable chill. In this sprawling urban center, towering skyscrapers and luminous digital billboards dominated the landscape. Amid the sleek modernity, the people moved like automatons, their faces impassive and eyes fixed on invisible data streams. At the center of this eerie calm was a colossal holographic image of a charismatic leader whose reassuring smile masked a hidden agenda. His every word, broadcast from enormous screens, promised unity, safety, and progress, but in reality, his influence was tightening like an invisible noose around the collective spirit of humanity. I watched in horror as scores of citizens queued in orderly lines to receive what was touted as a technological upgrade. The process was deceptively benign, a small subdermal implant that would, over time, grant seamless access to the digital world. Yet, as I drew nearer in my vision, I realized that this upgrade was nothing short of a spiritual shackle, a means to subtly commandeer free will, to enslave the very essence of what it meant to be human. Tears welled in my eyes as I beheld this future, a world gradually surrendering its soul to a system of control disguised as progress. But why? I pleaded with the vision, my voice trembling with a mixture of sorrow and disbelief. At that moment, Jesus' voice, filled with both compassion and a steely determination, answered my silent cry. The enemy's greatest strategy is to cloak his chains in the promise of liberation. By seducing you with comfort and convenience, he steals your choice, the gift of free will that I have granted to all. As the vision faded, I found myself in a tranquil, open field beneath a sky that stretched endlessly overhead, a place that felt as if it existed outside of time itself. Here, the chaotic images of the future were replaced by a quiet certainty, a reminder that even in the midst of overwhelming deception, hope still flickered. Before me diverged two paths. One was wide, smooth, and alluring, paved with the comforts of immediate gratification and ease. The other was narrow and rugged, riddled with challenges and hardships, yet at its terminus shone a light that promised true freedom and eternal connection with the divine. Jesus' gentle voice broke the silence once more. Most will choose the path that requires no sacrifice, for it is the easier road. But those who hear my call, the ones whose hearts burn with the desire for truth, will choose the arduous path. It is through struggle that you reclaim your true identity and reconnect with the divine spark within you. His words, both a warning and a beacon of hope, reverberated through my very soul, sealing the sacred duty that had been entrusted to me. With the vision now complete, I felt the radiant corridor of divine presence begin to dissolve, pulling me inexorably back toward the realm of the living. I awoke in a hospital room, the steady beeping of monitors a stark reminder that I had narrowly escaped death. My surroundings were a blur of concerned faces, my family gathered at my bedside, their eyes filled with equal measures of shock, relief, and disbelief. My younger sister clutched my hand, softly repeating my name as if willing me to remain in this world. In the days that followed, I struggled to put into words the ineffable experiences that had overtaken me. I recounted my visions to friends, neighbors, and even the local pastor, only to be met with skepticism and gentle admonitions that I must have been delirious from the trauma. Some dismissed my account as a figment of an overactive imagination born of near-death sensations. Yet, deep within, I knew the truth of what I had seen. The vivid clarity of the divine light, the sorrow and hope in Jesus' gaze, and the overwhelming urgency of the message resonated in my soul with a permanence I could not ignore. As the weeks passed, the signs of the prophetic vision began to emerge in subtle ways. News reports mentioned the rising popularity of micro-implant technologies for contactless payments and digital identification. Innovations that had once seemed like modern miracles were slowly being woven into the fabric of everyday life, their true purpose concealed beneath layers of bureaucratic assurance and technological advancement. Even institutions of faith, which had long been bastions of spiritual truth, began endorsing these advances, proclaiming them as necessary steps toward a safer, more connected future. Yet I knew that behind the glittering promise of progress lay a profound risk. A risk that the price of convenience was the gradual erosion of the freedom God had gifted us. Undeterred by widespread disbelief, I felt compelled to spread the message of awakening. I began speaking at small community gatherings, writing letters to local newspapers, and engaging in earnest conversations with anyone willing to listen. I explained that the battle being waged was not one of overt violence, but a quiet, insidious struggle for the very soul of humanity. A war fought in the minds and hearts of ordinary people seduced by the allure of immediate comfort. I urged those who felt a stirring of discontent with the status quo to look beyond the superficial promises of technological convenience and to remember that our true identity is found not in what controls us, but in the divine spark that unites us all. Gradually, I noticed a subtle but undeniable shift. In quiet corners of our community, a small rural church here, a neighborhood support group there, individuals began to question the rapid pace of change. They recognized that the smooth, seemingly benign road of conformity was in fact a trap, a seductive path leading to the gradual loss of free will. These were not the heroes of epic tales, but everyday people, mothers, fathers, teachers, and workers who, upon hearing the call of truth, mustered the courage to resist the tide of deception. Even now, as I write these words, I remain haunted by the memory of that transcendent encounter. I recall the divine radiance that enveloped me, the sorrow in the eyes of the one who called himself the light of the world, and the solemn charge to be a herald of awakening. The visions I experienced are not mere figments of a near-death delirium, but serve as a clarion call, a reminder that the battle for our souls is fought not only on distant battlefields, but in the quiet moments of every day. I stand before you today as both a survivor and a messenger. I have been granted a second chance, not for my own sake alone, but for the sake of every soul teetering on the edge of spiritual slumber. The enemy does not come with the clamor of battle. He creeps into our lives disguised as convenience and comfort, slowly chaining us to a future devoid of true freedom. Yet, as long as there are hearts that dare to question, as long as there are souls that hunger for the light of truth, hope will endure. Now, more than ever, I implore you to look within and ask, are you awake? Do you hear the quiet call of your true identity, a divine heritage that defies the constraints of modern deception? The journey is arduous, and the road less traveled is filled with obstacles, but the rewards are beyond measure. A life imbued with purpose, freedom, and an unbreakable bond with the divine. Let my story serve as a beacon in these uncertain times. Do not be swayed by the promises of effortless progress, for every convenience has its cost. Remember the divine light that once reached out to me, the voice that said, "Evelyn, arise." A call not merely to survival but to awakening. Embrace the difficult path if you must, for it is the path that leads to true liberation, the reclaiming of your soul, and the restoration of the divine order that once united us all. I continue to walk this narrow road, a living testament to the power of divine intervention. The world around us is shifting, and the silent war for our souls intensifies with each passing day. But I remain steadfast in my resolve. I have seen the truth, and I now dedicate my life to sharing it, even if my words are met with disbelief or scorn. For in the end, the strength of truth is inexhaustible, and its light will guide us home. May you, dear reader, find within these words not only a story of personal resurrection, but also a call to awaken to the deeper reality that lies just beneath the surface of everyday life. In a world where the lines between salvation and subjugation blur with each technological advance, the only true safeguard is the unyielding commitment to the divine spark within each of us. This is my testimony, a chronicle of a moment when death led to rebirth, when the veils between the seen and unseen were lifted, and when I was entrusted with a mission greater than myself. The choice now lies before you. Will you heed the call and embrace the difficult journey toward awakening? Or will you allow the seductive chains of complacency to bind you? The decision is yours, and it is the most consequential one you will ever make. I leave you with this final charge: question, seek, and above all, choose truth over comfort. For in the end, the light of awareness will always shine brighter than the shadow of deception. May you find the courage to follow the harder, more rewarding path, and may the grace of the divine forever guide you on your way.